Okay. President Trump's election to office has spiked racism in the United States. Definitions I'd like to clarify are race, which is each of the major divisions of humankind having distinct physical characteristics, and racism, which is prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that one's race is superior. So why has racism and hate crimes in the US gone up? It's because Trump has access to every American, and all eyes are on him. He's everywhere in the media, like magazine covers, which Time magazine named him Person of the Year for 2016. Also, he's in full control of his social media accounts. For example, his Twitter, which is @POTUS, the President of the United States, and the real Donald Trump account. With these two accounts combined, he has a following of over 41.3 million people. And Trump said in an interview that he doesn't like tweeting. He says, "I have other things I could be doing, but I have very dishonest media and very dishonest press, and it's my only way that I can counteract. If the press were honest," which it's not, I would absolutely not use Twitter. When asked about having to change his username, Real Donald Trump, to the President of the United States, he said, "I'd rather just let it build up and keep it at Real Donald Trump." For someone who wouldn't use social media or Twitter, if the media was truthful, it seems that Donald Trump cares about his follower count and his username a little bit. Also, he blocks the users that disagree with him. One user tweeted, "I have been blocked by Donald Trump. Propaganda as a fascist tool starts with controlling the narrative. Donald Trump allows no dissent." Trump claims that the sole reason he uses Twitter is to give truthful news to the Americans, but blocks them so they have no way of being able to see the so-called truth. He uses inappropriate rhetoric when he mentions minority groups, such as using the definite article "the" when, as in saying the Hispanics, the Muslims, or the blacks. He often speaks morbid words with millions paying attention, and there is no repercussions. He often encourages the actions of his supporters and condoned the beating of a Black Lives Matter protester at a Trump rally. His supporters beat up a black citizen because he was chanting Black Lives Matter, and he was quoted saying, "Maybe the protester should have been roughed up. It was absolutely disgusting what he was doing." His supporters also beat up a Latino homeless man, and Trump was saying, "I will say that people who are following me are very passionate. They love this country and they want this country to be great again. They're very passionate." He called them well-intentioned and passionate, but since when did violence mean passion and well-intentioned? Trump also attacked Muslim parents who lost their veteran son while fighting in Iraq. Trump said in an interview with ABC News, "If you look at his wife, she's standing there, she had nothing to say. Maybe, probably, she had nothing to say at all." He says, "You tell me." To which the mother of this deceased veteran responded, "Walking onto a convention stage with a huge picture of my son behind me, I could hardly control myself." What mother could? Donald Trump has children whom he loves. Does he really wonder why I need not speak? But yet he claims to be the least racist person you've ever met, and even pulled the not having a racist bone in his body card. When being interviewed about all of the news and recent hate crimes that had spread across the US, he told his supporters to stop it. In an interview with 60 Minutes, he said, "If it helps, I will say it right now and I will say it to the cameras, stop it." But that didn't seem to help or stop anything. A leader of the Virginia KKK who was backing up Trump told a local TV station, "The reason a lot of Klan members like Donald Trump is because a lot of what he believes in, we believe in." What exactly does the KKK believe in? white supremacy. Not only white supremacy, but white male supremacy. If the connection wasn't clear enough, I like to call it monkey see, monkey do. When people see something happening and there's no repercussions involved, they want to join the fun. Hate crimes all over the country broke out as soon as the votes were counted. In Durham, North Carolina, neither Black Lives nor Black Votes Matter was spray painted on a wall for everyone to see. At San Diego State University, a female Muslim student was targeted and harassed by two men who stole her purse, her keys, her backpack, along with her car. They harassed her because she followed her faith and chose to wear her hijab. In Maple Grove Senior High School in Minnesota, teens graffiti, whites only, white America, hashtag go back to Africa, and of course Trump on all of the bathroom stalls and doors. In Pasco County, Florida, a teacher and golf coach at Wesley Chapel High School made a remark to Black students saying, "Don't make me call Donald Trump to get you sent back to Africa," the day after Trump won. In Ann Arbor, Michigan, a female Muslim student at the University of Michigan was threatened by a man to be set on fire unless she removed her hijab. So why do racist bigots not deserve the spotlight? Because they influence the youth. For example, the college hate crimes. We are the future, but some of us are repeating the same mistakes of our ancestors. Because it makes racism seem okay. For example, the hate crimes around the country. In those situations, the vandal, the thief, or the racist was driven by Trump's words, and they graffitied his name alongside swastikas and Nazi-related banter. But worst of all, it scares the people, and it scares the future of this country. Some Muslim women were told for their own safety that they should remove their hijab. And the victims of the hate crime will never be able to forget their experiences. We as the United States were making progress to a better and brighter future, but unfortunately the underlying racism and white supremacy had not died off. And by turning a blind eye to his words and his hate, it has not only made the idea of racism a much softer topic, but it has sent America 50 years in the wrong direction.
No. All right, Carolyn, there are several things that are really strong about the speech, a couple of things that are a little problematic. The propositions clearly identified at the beginning of the speech. I think you've got something that's controversial in the position that you're taking. I understand the argument. So contextually, I think you're in good shape to start with. I also think you do a nice job presenting. You talked about being nervous. I thought you were fine. You seem to be talking, and at the end, you seem quite passionate about your point of view. And so I think that adds a little bit to your credibility, although you do want to, maintain some composure because you want people to think that you're reasoning and not that you're making an emotional appeal. But I don't think that it hurt you in your presentation. The evidence that you have, the best part of the evidence that you have are examples. You've got lots of examples that you can point to of people engaging in racist acts, of things that Trump has said or done that you see as being problematic. Some of them I think are clearer than others. So for instance, the passive acceptance that he has of people beating somebody at one of his rallies, or his mild comments about people who have engaged in violence against somebody. I think that's the stuff that ties your argument a little bit closer to the causality kind of claim that you're talking about. The other stuff, I think, there are a couple things. For instance, I'm listening to this. I think I understand. So when I say this, don't say, "Well, I'm sitting next to an idiot racist." Of course he would say that. Why the use of the article "the" in front of a particular classification or group of people indicates a racist attitude needs to be explained. I think the idea that you're talking about is that it encourages the looking at people as a collective group instead of individuals and that sort of thing. And that, I think you need to make that argument. And when he does that sort of thing, it has the consequence of stereotyping people into a group. So I think you need to explain that a little bit. All right. I kind of understood what you were saying, but I hope that's the point that she's trying to make there. All right. Now, I think you need to have some statistical evidence. When you mentioned that there's a jump in the number of these incidents, all you have are the examples. And you got a lot of examples. But to be honest, the world is full of horrible human beings who do terrible things on a regular basis. And the question is it any more horrible now than it was a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? We ought to have some way of measuring, because you are in essence saying that Trump is making this easier to happen, so we should be seeing some of those kinds of signs. And I've heard a lot of people say that sort of thing, so I'm just looking for some data to go along with it, to go along with the examples that you're citing. All right, now some of the things that I think are a little bit problematic. It needs to have a clearer structure. I think you probably have an organization someplace in your material, but it wasn't very clear to the audience when you're presenting it. You need a preview that says, look, here are the 2 points that I'm going to make, or here are the 4 things that I'm going to prove to you. I'm going to lead you through these ideas so that you'll be able to see why this is true. First, we're going to look at how there's been an increase in the number of racial incidents that are related to groups that Trump has talked about, and we'll talk about those first. And second, we're going to look at the president's own language, which encourages people to do those sorts of things. And then finally, we're going to talk about the fact that it's a contagious sort of effect. Like you said, it's monkey see, monkey do, that all you need is a little bit of encouragement from one thing, then that provokes something else. And then I think the arguments will all fit together a little bit more, and you're making your point a little bit more clearly. As it is, I think that you've done a good job citing a whole bunch of incidents that suggest that there are idiots out there, and they say and do terrible things. The KKK thing, that's an obvious argument to make, because, let's face it, the KKK is symbolic of racism. I think there are good arguments to be made that said, for example, that Trump didn't do enough to maybe distance himself from those groups during the campaign. There was some criticism of him for doing those kinds of things. But to be honest, you got to be a little bit careful, because like all groups, we don't want to make the blacks, the Muslims, the KKK. There are things that the KKK believes that probably a lot of other people believe. That doesn't necessarily make those beliefs bad just because the KKK also believes in them. The crap that they believe in that's bad, that's the stuff that you want to emphasize. Yeah, so, and that's why it would be important. So their white supremacist attitudes, that's the thing that you want to emphasize. That they object to, the free trade laws or something like that. I don't see that as working in your favor. I just think that's a distraction. Okay? All right. Thank you.